So the Galaxy S26 Ultra might look familiar at first glance, but once you look closer, Samsung is changing more than you'd think. Some updates fix old complaints, others simply bring things up to where they should be. So let's go through the 12 key differences and see what actually matters. First up, the design. The S26 Ultra is getting a bit rounder, but not so round that it loses that classic Note aesthetic. Samsung also chamfered the edges this time, which is a big relief because the S25 Ultra's edges were sharp enough to slice an apple. The biggest visual shift though is the camera module. It now resembles the Z Fold 7 setup, and considering how clean that design looks on the Fold, it's a welcome update. The one drawback is pretty obvious. This thing is gonna dance on a table if you tap it. And it's not just the looks. Samsung made the S26 Ultra both slimmer and lighter than the S25 Ultra. It's 0.3mm thinner and 4 grams lighter. These aren't massive numbers, but in a market where phones feel like they're all hitting the same limits, shaving off anything is still impressive. For context, the iPhone 17 Pro Max is almost a millimeter thicker and nearly 20 grams heavier than the S26 Ultra. Now, arguably the biggest upgrade on the S26 Ultra is the display, because there are two major changes. First is the new AI privacy mode. It automatically narrows the viewing angle so people sitting next to you can't read your screen, while everything stays perfectly visible to you. It can turn on automatically if the phone detects you're in a public place, or if you open something sensitive like a banking app, or you can activate it manually. Second, Samsung is moving to the new M14 display panel with COE tech. That means lower power consumption, better colors, longer lifespan, and potentially higher brightness. But Samsung doesn't seem to be using that extra brightness because it's still capped at 2600 nits, just like the S25 Ultra. And we still don't know if they're enabling full 10-bit color or sticking to 8-bit like before. The panel can do 10-bit, but whether Samsung lets it is a different question. Next, the battery capacity stays the same, but charging finally gets the bump everyone's been waiting for. Wired charging jumps to 60 watts and wireless goes up to 25 watts. That's a meaningful upgrade from the S25 Ultra, and it's literally their biggest charging improvements in years. It will definitely help when you're traveling or when you just need a fast top-up. Samsung also added built-in magnets for proper MagSafe style charging and accessories. Unlike the S25 Ultra, you don't need a magnetic case anymore to snap on chargers or mounts. It's a simple change, but it makes the whole experience far better and honestly should have happened ages ago. The RAM and storage capacities are the same, but the RAM itself is upgraded. Samsung is using a newer version of LPDDR5X that's about 26% faster. You'll see this in a quicker low-light shutter speeds, smoother lens switching, better multitasking efficiency, and just overall more refined experience. Now, even though the camera on the S26 Ultra looks almost identical to the S25 Ultra on paper, there are real hardware changes that should make a noticeable difference. The first is the larger apertures. Both the main and the 5x telephoto cameras are getting upgrades. The main lens is jumping from f1.7 to f1.4, which lets in around 40% more light. You'll notice this especially in low light. Photos will look brighter, sharper, and richer in detail. You also get better natural depth of field, which should look especially good on the 5x telephoto. And this isn't just about photos. Videos benefit even more from bigger apertures, so the improvement will be visible there too. Pair that with improved ISP on the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and the S26 Ultra's camera system should feel like a clear step up from the S25 Ultra. Speaking of videos, Samsung is adding a new APV codec to match Apple's popular ProRes format. It works similarly and gives creators greater control over recording and editing. Samsung even says APV is more efficient than ProRes, so if you've been wanting a ProRes style raw video option on a Galaxy, this finally delivers it. Next, the selfie camera on the S26 Ultra is getting wider, going from an 80-degree field of view to 85. This example image gives you a rough idea, though it's not an actual camera sample. The only trade-off is that the punch hole gets a bit larger to fit the wider lens. And it's not just the front camera changing, the rear camera system is getting some small focal length shifts too. The main lens goes from 23mm to 24mm, and the 5x telephoto goes from 115 to 120mm. You won't notice much on the main lens, but the telephoto change will give you nicer background compression and a cleaner natural blur. The S26 Ultra is also the first phone to ship with One UI 8.5 out of the box. It's a noticeably bigger upgrade compared to One UI 8 with ton of UI improvements and a refreshed look. I've already installed it on the S25 Ultra and made a hands-on video walking through all the changes. I'll link it below so you can check it out. One of the biggest hardware improvements on the S26 Ultra is the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. And for anyone wondering, the S26 Ultra is Snapdragon worldwide this time. There's no Exynos version. On paper, it's a substantial upgrade over the S25 Ultra's chip with around 20% more power and roughly 30% better efficiency. It's also the fastest mobile chip available right now, even ahead of Apple's A19 Pro. The S25 Ultra is already incredibly fast, but with Samsung offering 7 years of OS updates, these long-term gains matter if you're planning to keep your phone for a while. There are also new AI additions like Perplexity integration and Bixby, but since the S25 Ultra is getting them with One UI 8.5, we don't dive into that here. So those were the 12 big changes coming with the S26 Ultra. Now here's some good news. Samsung's Black Friday deals are wild right now, and somehow they've pushed them even further. For example, the Z Fold 7 is going for $1,400 for the 512GB model, which is $720 off without any trade-in. And you can stack additional discount on top of that if you're a student, educator, first responder, healthcare worker, military member, or government employee. You can unlock up to an extra 30% discount. That brings the Fold 7 down to roughly $1,140. The same stack discount applied to the S25 Ultra at around $707 and the Watch 8 Classic at about just $180. Use the link in the description to check eligibility and unlock the extra savings. And if you want to see how the Fold 7 holds up long term, check out my 100-day review right here, and I'll see you there.